How does it mess up a country's soul, its people? It's not just from bloodshed or wrecking the economy, but by cutting off that country's future kids from their ancestors' wisdom, and saying they don't own their knowledge and culture. That's the deep wound India got when Nalanda fell. The invaders didn't just break down buildings, they burned up knowledge that was collected over centuries, the priceless stuff passed down through generations. This horrible thing broke the chain of wisdom, and left India like a boat without a direction, struggling after losing its deep treasure of knowledge. You might have some questions. What kind of amazing knowledge did we have like that? Who caused this destruction, and how did they do it? Why can't we get back what we lost? What are the long-lasting effects of this terrible event? Stick with us until the end to find out the answers. Let's all try to figure out these mysteries together.
Come on, let's dig a little into that amazing past we once had. If we understand how rich our heritage was, we'll really know how big a loss we've faced. Imagine a place where the search for knowledge was as important as the air we breathe, a sanctuary where intellectuals from all corners of the world gathered, a bright lighthouse cutting through the darkness of ignorance. That was Nalanda University, a name that once echoed with the intellectual power of thousands of scholars, a place that held the key to understanding the deep secrets of the universe. But this incredible chapter in human history met a tragic, horrifying end. Picture a sprawling campus in your mind. Some historical records say it covered about 14 hectares, while others whisper it was even larger. It wasn't just a bunch of buildings thrown together, but a planned city dedicated entirely to the pursuit of knowledge. Imagine 8 separate compounds and 10 towering temples that seemed to reach for the sky. Think of meditation halls filled with the echoes of ancient chants and countless classrooms where the fabric of knowledge was woven. Peaceful lakes and gardens were scattered throughout the campus, providing spaces for reflection and quiet contemplation. Amazingly, Nalanda was one of the first residential universities in the world, providing shelter to around 10,000 eager students. This revolutionary idea fostered a true community of learning. Built with sturdy red bricks, enclosed by high walls, and guarded by a single gatekeeper, Nalanda wasn't just a university, it was a fortress of knowledge. But what was that priceless knowledge, so carefully protected within those walls? It wasn't just one thing, but a vast ocean of wisdom. Though the profound teachings of Buddhism were at its core, Nalanda embraced all forms of inquiry. Imagine students studying the soul-stirring fine arts, the body-healing science of medicine, the universe-unlocking disciplines of mathematics and astronomy, the society-governing field of politics, and even the strategy of warfare. Think of lively debates on Ayurveda, the intricate study of grammar, and the exploration of India's deep philosophical traditions. Picture Aryabhatta, a genius who gifted the world the concept of zero, doing his groundbreaking work here at Nalanda. This wasn't just education, it was a complete immersion in the entirety of human understanding. Who were the guiding lights of this center of knowledge? They were the greatest intellectuals of their time, the gurus who dedicated their lives to seeking, finding, and spreading the truth. Imagine learning directly from Aryabhatta, the master of mathematics and astronomy. Envision absorbing the profound wisdom of Buddhist teachers like Dharmapala and Silabhadra, who guided students through the complex paths of enlightenment. Think of the insightful contributions of Nagarjuna and Dharmakirti, whose philosophical and logical frameworks shaped thought for centuries. Even the famous Chinese pilgrim Xuanzang, who came seeking knowledge but also became a teacher, stayed at Nalanda for many years, fostering crucial intellectual exchange between India and East Asia. Entering this prestigious institution was a rigorous process, a true intellectual test conducted by the gatekeepers themselves. Only the most dedicated and brilliant were considered worthy to enter. Now, imagine the students, a vibrant tapestry of humanity. Thousands of eager minds, not just from India, but also from the far reaches of Asia, China, Korea, Japan, Tibet, Mongolia, Sri Lanka, and Southeast Asia. Some accounts even suggest students came from distant lands like Greece and Persia. But the heart of Nalanda, the true source of its immense power, lay in its legendary library Dharma Gunj, the mountain of truth. Imagine not thousands, not lakhs, but 9 million handwritten palm leaf manuscripts, a treasure trove encompassing every subject imaginable, religion, philosophy, science, medicine, and everything in between. It wasn't just one building, but a complex of three massive, multi-story edifices, Ratnasagar, Ratnodadhi, and Ratnaranjaka. Within Ratnodadhi, towering up to 9 stories high, were housed the most sacred texts, the Prajnapramita Sutra and the Guhyasmaja. This library was the lifeblood of knowledge, carefully preserving and disseminating wisdom, its treasures carried by devoted pilgrims to distant lands, shaping the course of Buddhism across Asia. Picture a sophisticated cataloging system, perhaps inspired by ancient linguistic principles, organizing this ocean of knowledge.
Does your heart ache when you think of the treasures we lost? Then join our channel to learn about the greatness of that golden age. Like this video and pay respect to our history. Don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. Share it so others can learn about our heritage. Tell us your feelings in the comments. We shouldn't forget the knowledge of our ancestors, right?
This golden age, this unparalleled center of learning, was destined to meet a tragic end. Even though earlier storms threatened Nalanda attacks from the Huna and Gauda kings, it always rose again. But the final blow, a catastrophe that would forever stain the pages of history, came in the late 12th century AD. Imagine the horror when Khilji's forces came towards this peaceful sanctuary. They say they set fire to Dharma Gunj, and that fire burned for 3 terrible months, turning 9 million priceless manuscripts to ashes. Knowledge, wisdom, learning collected over centuries turned to ash, and that smoke covered the land like a black shroud. Thousands of monks and scholars, the guardians of this intellectual heritage, were mercilessly killed, their voices silenced forever. The monasteries and classrooms that once buzzed with lively debate were looted, ruined, and left desolate. Even though some whispers of history tell different stories, the dominant narrative paints a picture of a planned destruction, a terrible blow to India's intellectual and spiritual heart, a wound that has not healed on that land for centuries.
Did you see the real face of these dark pages? On this channel, learn the whole story of that betrayal. Like this video and show your support. Share it so everyone knows the truth. If you want to learn even more, don't forget to subscribe. What do you feel in your heart about this atrocity? Tell us in the comments. Knowing the truth is our right.
Today, the question we stand with amidst the ruins of Nalanda is, can we truly get back what we lost? Can we rebuild this once grand university? The answer, heartbreakingly, is no. 9 million manuscripts, the very heart of its intellectual wealth, are gone, burned beyond recovery in the fire of ignorance. Some fragments of knowledge might remain, but the sheer volume and unique insights of that vast library are lost forever. Can't we get that knowledge back? The short answer, it would take generations to regain such deep, advanced knowledge, perhaps even centuries. Let me explain with a simple example. Imagine you have the complete design blueprints and all the technical documents to build a Mercedes-Benz car. With that information, you can recreate the car. Now, imagine all those documents and blueprints are destroyed. You wouldn't just lose the ability to build a luxury car, you'd lose the fundamental knowledge to build even a basic vehicle. That's the scale of the loss when knowledge is destroyed. It's much more than just an object. You might also have another question here. How does destroying the source mean the knowledge is gone forever? The indirect answer is that they didn't have printing presses or Xerox machines back then. Confusing, right? Let me explain. In the 12th century, the only way to make a copy of a manuscript was to write it all over again by hand from the original. Now think about those 9 million manuscripts. It was practically impossible. So, almost 95% of the books had only one copy. Destroying it meant that knowledge was gone forever. When people lose this kind of knowledge, they have to depend on others, mostly other countries or groups, for that expertise. Sometimes, they even have to beg for it. Sadly, this is what happened in the past, and it's still happening now.
Do you believe that the effects of that disaster still affect us? On this channel, let's find out about the lasting impact of this bitter truth. Like this video and show you care. Share it so everyone understands how serious this is. Subscribe for more thought-provoking stuff like this. Tell us what you think in the comments. We should learn from our past, right?